Ah, welcome back, you untouchable force of nature, you walking reminder of everything they lost, everything they destroyed, everything they took for granted. They're calling now, aren't they? Blowing up your phone, leaving voice messages they'll delete out of shame, refreshing your stories, checking if you've seen their texts. And the funniest part, the most delicious part, is that you have, and you said absolutely nothing. Because you're not playing that game anymore, are you? You're not the person who jumps when they whistle, who comes running when they remember you exist, who accepts crumbs and calls it a feast. No, no, no. That version of you died quietly, painfully, permanently, and what came back is something they were never prepared to face. Let me tell you what's really happening right now while they're out there composing paragraph apologies they'll never send. They're realizing something so obvious it hurts, that you were the rare one. Not them, not their new friends, not the people they replaced you with, not the distractions they chased while you were right there bleeding loyalty. You were the blueprint, the original, the standard they didn't know they needed until you were gone. And now they're stuck in a world full of copies, cheap imitations, people who look good in pictures but crumble under pressure, people who talk a big game but disappear when things get real. Surrounded by mediocrity, and it's eating them alive because they remember you. They remember what real felt like. They're scrolling through old conversations, aren't they? Reading your words like lost scripture, trying to remember the sound of your laugh, the way you used to show up without being asked. They're looking at pictures from when you were still around, still present, still theirs, and it's hitting them like a freight train, that they fumbled the rarest soul they'll ever encounter. Not because you were perfect, but because you were real. You didn't perform loyalty, you lived it. You didn't fake your presence, you gave it freely, and they treated it like it was replaceable, like you were common, like they had 100 more of you waiting in line. But there's no line, is there? There's just silence and regret and the ghost of what they destroyed. Here's the part that's destroying them, piece by piece, breath by breath. You're not just gone, you're better. You're not crying anymore, you're not checking their page, you're not asking mutual friends about them. You're not writing unsent letters at 3 in the morning. You're out here building empires in silence, moving different, walking taller, speaking less, but meaning more. They can feel it, can't they? That shift in your energy, that elevation in your frequency. You don't need closure from them anymore because you built your own. You don't need an apology because you've already forgiven yourself for staying too long. You're not bitter, you're just unreachable. And that's what's killing them, because bitter they could handle. Bitter means you still care. But this unbothered, untouchable energy you're carrying now, this is the stuff of nightmares for people who thought they had you figured out. They're watching you thrive in spaces they'll never access, talking to people they'll never meet, becoming someone they'll never recognize. And it's not a show, it's not revenge, it's just evolution. You're not trying to make them jealous, you're just living out loud in your truth, in your power, in your peace. And somehow, that's more painful to them than any words you could have said, because now they're forced to sit with the reality that you didn't need them to become this, you just needed them gone. You know what's really messing with their head right now? It's that you're not even angry anymore. Anger they could work with. Anger means there's still a door cracked open, still a chance to explain, to manipulate, to worm their way back in with some half-baked excuse. But you're past anger. You're in a place they can't touch, can't name, can't navigate. You're an acceptance mixed with indifference, sprinkled with a smile that says, I survived you, and I'm better for it. That smile, that's the one that haunts them at night, 'cause it's not fake, it's not forced, it's just real. You're genuinely happy they're gone, genuinely grateful for the lesson, genuinely at peace with the fact that they're now just a story you tell when someone asks about growth. They're crying for you back, but let's be honest about what they're really crying for. They're not crying for you, the person, the soul, the energy, the loyalty. They're crying for the version of you that made their life easier. The one who was always available, always understanding, always willing to meet them halfway, even when they never moved an inch. They miss the comfort, the safety, the guarantee that no matter how badly they treated you, you'd still be there. They miss having someone who saw the best in them, even when they were showing you their worst. They miss the way you made them feel important without them having to earn it. But that's not love. That's convenience. And you finally learned the difference. So now they're stuck refreshing your page like it's going to give them answers. They're analyzing your posts looking for hidden messages, wondering if that caption is about them, if that song is a subliminal, if you're hurting, if you're healing, if you've moved on. And the truth, the brutal, beautiful truth is that you have. Not in the way they think, not with someone new or something shiny, but with yourself. You've moved on from the version of you that needed their validation, that measured your worth by their attention, that thought love was supposed to hurt this much. You've moved into a frequency they can't even detect anymore, let alone disturb. You're vibrating on a level reserved for people who chose themselves and meant it. They thought you were weak, didn't they? They thought your kindness was naivety. Your forgiveness was stupidity. Your loyalty was desperation. They mistook your soft heart for a weak spine, and that was their biggest miscalculation. Because what they didn't realize is that soft hearts are the strongest one. It takes more strength to stay kind in a cruel world than it does to become cruel. It takes more courage to forgive than to hold grudges. It takes more power to walk away with grace than to burn bridges with rage. And you did all of that while they were busy underestimating you, treating you like an option, like a backup plan, like someone who'd always be there no matter what. Now they're learning the hard way that you weren't a backup plan, you were the plan. And you're the best way to win. You were the best way to win. You were the main character, the foundation, the one holding everything together while they were out chasing extras. And now that you're gone, their whole world feels off-balanced, unstable, like something crucial is missing, because it is. You were the glue, the calm, the reason things made sense, and without you, they're just floating aimlessly, surrounded by people who don't care the way you did, who don't see them the way you did, who don't love them the way you did, who don't see them the way you did, who don't love them the way you did, who don't see them the way you did. And no amount of new friends, new partners, new distractions is going to fill that void, because that void is shaped exactly like you. Here's what they'll never admit out loud, but you already know. Every person they meet now gets compared to you. Every conversation feels shallow because it's not yours. Every laugh feels hollow because it's not the one you two shared. They're out here trying to recreate what you gave them, naturally, but it's not working because you can't replicate genuine connection. You can't manufacture the kind of bond that's built on years of trust and late-night conversations and showing up when no one else did. They're realizing too late that what you had wasn't common, wasn't replaceable, wasn't something they could just find again with someone else. You were lightning in a bottle, and they dropped the bottle. So let them call, let them text, Let them show up at your door with tears and apologies and promises to change. Let them beg, let them plead, let them offer you the world they should have given you when you were there. Because here's the thing, you don't need it anymore. You don't need their validation, their approval, their love, their presence. You've built a life without them, a beautiful, thriving, powerful life, and they're not invited. They had their chance. They had years of chances, and they chose to waste every single one. Now it's your turn to choose. And you're choosing you. You're choosing peace over chaos, growth over comfort, self-respect over second chances. And that's the ultimate revenge. Not because you're trying to hurt them, but because you're finally done hurting yourself. They're crying now, but where were those tears when you were begging them to care? Where was that urgency when you were asking for the bare minimum? Where was that desperation when you were still there, willing to work it out, willing to try, willing to believe in them? They had you at your best and chose to treat you at your worst. They had your loyalty and chose to test it. They had your love and chose to take it for granted. So now they get to live with the consequences. They get to watch from a distance as you become everything they always knew you could be. They get to see you win without them, smile without them, thrive without them, and realize that they were never the reason for your light. They were just the shadow trying to dim it. You're royalty now, walking with a crown they can't see, but they can feel. You carry yourself different. You speak different. You exist different. There's a weight to you now, a presence that demands respect without asking for it. You're not trying to prove anything to anyone because you've already proven it to yourself. You survived their absence, you survived their betrayal, you survived the version of love that was designed to destroy you. And you came out stronger, clearer, more aligned with who you're meant to be. They can't touch that. They can't taint that. They can't take that away from you. You've become untouchable, not because you're cold, but because you're protected by the boundaries you finally learned to build. And those boundaries, those are what's really keeping them out. It's not that you hate them. It's not that you're bitter. It's not that you're holding a grudge. It's that you respect yourself too much to let them back in. You respect your peace too much to disturb it with their chaos. You respect your growth too much to regress for their comfort. You've worked too hard to get here to let someone who didn't value you then suddenly value you now just because you're glowing. No. They don't get to benefit from the version of you they didn't help build. They don't get to enjoy the garden they refused to water. They made their choice, and now you're making yours. And your choice is to keep walking forward without looking back. Let them cry, let them regret, let them realize at 3 a.m. that they lost the best thing that ever happened to them. Let them sit in that pain because you sat in yours alone. Let them feel the weight of their mistakes because you carried the weight of their neglect. This isn't about revenge. This is about balance. This is the universe showing them what happens when you treat rare souls like common ones. This is karma, not because you wished it on them, but because actions have consequences, and they're finally facing theirs. And the beautiful part, the poetic justice of it all, is that you're not even watching, you're not even keeping score. You're too busy living, too busy building, too busy becoming. They thought they could come back whenever they wanted, didn't they? They thought you'd be there waiting, frozen in time, holding space for their return. But you're not a museum. You're not a waiting room. You're a living, breathing, evolving force of nature. And you don't pause for people who pressed pause on you. They're learning now that you don't owe them access, that forgiveness doesn't mean reconciliation, that you can wish them well from a distance and still never let them close again. You're teaching them the hardest lesson they'll ever learn, that some doors once closed don't reopen, that some chapters once finished don't get sequels, that some people once lost stay lost. So here's to you, to the person who chose themselves when it would have been easier to stay, to the one who walked away when every part of them wanted to run back, to the soul who said enough is enough and meant it. You're not the same person they remember, and that's exactly the point. You've shed that skin, you've outgrown that version, you've evolved past the need for their approval. They're crying for you back, but the you they want doesn't exist anymore. That person died in the fire, and what rose from the ashes is someone they'll never deserve, someone they'll never reach, someone they'll spend the rest of their lives regretting they lost. And you'll spend the rest of yours being grateful they let you go. They can't even breathe your air now because you're operating on a different altitude. While they're down there drowning in regret, replaying mistakes, wondering what if, you're up here, building empires, making moves, creating a life so full, so rich, so abundant, that there's no room for people who made you feel empty. You're surrounding yourself with souls who match your energy, who celebrate your wins, who show up without being asked. You're in rooms they'll never enter, having conversations they'll never hear, becoming someone they'll only read about. And that distance, that gap between who you were and who you've become is unbridgeable. They can see you, but they can't reach you, and it's destroying them. You were always rare. You know that now. You were always the diamond in a room full of glass. But they were so busy looking for flaws that they missed the brilliance. They were so focused on what you weren't that they overlooked everything you were. They wanted you to shrink, to dim your light, to play small so they could feel big. But you weren't made for small spaces. You weren't built to be contained. You weren't designed to make insecure people comfortable. You were made to shine, to rise, to take up space unapologetically. You're made to shine, to rise, to take up space unapologetically. They made you to shine, to rise, to take up space unapologetically. I knew it before you met them, but you were made to shine, to rise, to take up space unapologetically. You were made to shine, to rise, to take up space unapologetically. And now that you're doing exactly that, they're realizing what they had, and it's too late. The window closed, the door locked, the bridge burned, and you're on the other side living your best life without them. They're gonna try one more time, you know they will. They're gonna craft the perfect message, say all the right things, promise real change this time. They're gonna appeal to your empathy, remind you of the good times, guilt you with shared history. And when they do, when that message comes, and it will, you're gonna read it, feel absolutely nothing, and delete it. Not out of anger, not out of spite, but out of pure indifference, because that's the final stage of healing, when you can hear from them and not feel a thing. No anger, no sadness, no hope, no curiosity, just nothing. Just a quiet recognition that this person is a stranger now. A character in a story you've already closed the book on. And that, my friend, is when you've truly won. Not when you hurt them back, not when you make them jealous, not when you prove them wrong, but when you simply don't care anymore. When their approval means nothing, when their absence feels like relief, when their presence wouldn't change a single thing about your life. That's freedom. That's power. That's royalty. You're not on their level anymore. You're not in their league. You're not even playing the same game. You've transcended, you've elevated. You've become someone they'll fear from afar, but never touch again. They're crying for you back, but you're already gone. Not physically, but energetically, spiritually, emotionally. You've moved on in every way that matters. So let this be the final word, the closing chapter, the end of their story in your life. They had you, they lost you, they'll regret you. That's their burden to carry, not yours. Your job now is to keep walking, keep growing, keep becoming the most powerful version of yourself. Your job is to protect your peace, guard your energy, honor your boundaries. Your job is to never ever let someone back in just because they finally realized your worth. Because here's the truth. Anyone who needs to lose you to appreciate you doesn't deserve to find you again. Anyone who needs your absence to recognize your presence wasn't paying attention. Anyone who needs you gone to want you back never wanted you in the first place. They wanted control, comfort, convenience. But you wanted love, and you deserve to find it with someone who doesn't need to lose you first. They're crying for you back, but baby, you're royalty now, and royalty doesn't descend. Royalty doesn't backtrack. Royalty doesn't dim their crown to make peasants comfortable. You wear that crown high. You walk with your head up. You breathe different air now. Rarefied, elevated, untouchable. They can look, they can cry, they can wish, they can regret, but they can never ever have you again. That door is sealed. That chapter is finished. That version of you who would have given them another chance is dead and buried. What stands here now is someone who learned the hardest way that you teach people how to treat you by what you tolerate. And you don't tolerate disrespect anymore. You don't tolerate being undervalued. You don't tolerate crumbs when you're a whole feast. So keep walking, keep rising, keep shining so bright it blinds everyone who doubted you. Keep building a life so incredible that their regret becomes unbearable. Keep becoming so unreachable that their apologies die in their throat unsent. Not because you're cruel, but because you're healed. Not because you hate them, but because you love yourself more. Not because you're holding grudges, but because you're holding standards. They realized you were rare too late. The window closed, the seasons changed, and you bloomed without them. Now they get to watch from the outside as you become everything they always feared you would. Powerful, peaceful, untouchable, free. They're crying for you back, but you're already home, and home is wherever you are now. Unbothered, unshaken, unstoppable. That's where you live now, and they'll never find the address.